The screams echoed through the house as I watched everything from the half-open door. Blood. So much blood. His body twisting on the bed, trying to escape those small, hungry creatures. I didn't look away for even a second. I wanted to remember every detail, every bite, every scream of pain. Those rabid rats were doing the work I never had the strength to do with my own hands. And while Robert screamed for help, all I could think about was how good the silence would be after it was all over. Finally, silence. My name is Henry, and I'm 23 years old now. I spent 3 years in juvenile detention for something many people would call monstrous. The newspapers reported it as a brutal attack and premeditated crime, but no one ever really knew what happened in that house during the 6 years before. No one wanted to listen. I've been sitting in this empty park for almost 2 hours. I come here almost every day since I got out of juvie. It's the only place where I can organize my thoughts without feeling suffocated. People pass by in a hurry. No one notices me. Better that way. If they knew who I am, what I did, they'd probably run. But you're there on the other side listening to me. You must be wondering what kind of monster releases rabid rats in someone's bedroom. What kind of person plans something like that and then sits calmly in a park telling their story? I understand. I sometimes wonder if I'm a monster too. Before you decide, I want you to know what happened when the lights went out in that house. I want you to understand what it's like to live for years under the same roof as your worst nightmare, while the person who should protect you looks the other way. What it's like to feel your body and mind breaking day after day until you no longer recognize who you are. I'm not asking for forgiveness or understanding. I just want you to hear the complete story before judging me. If you're really paying attention, please like this video right now. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any stories like this, and comment where you're watching from. I need to know I'm not talking to myself, that there's someone on the other side really listening to what I went through. This connection is the only thing keeping me going forward. And believe me, what I'm going to tell you about that house, about Robert and my mom Claire, will make you question everything you think you know about protection, family, and justice. What happened in that room with the rats was just the final chapter of a much darker story. My childhood started like any other. I lived alone with my mom Claire in a small but comfortable apartment in Connecticut. My biological father was never present. He left when I was only 2 years old. But we managed well, you know? My mom worked as a nurse, frequently did night shifts, but always made time to take me to the park on weekends or help me with homework. I remember at 7 years old I collected die-cast cars. I had a whole shelf of them in my room. My mom always brought a new one when she got paid. It was our little ritual. Sometimes, when she wasn't too tired, we'd make tracks with pillows and books around the living room and spend hours playing. It was just the two of us against the world. Everything changed when I was 10, and my mom met Robert at the hospital where she worked. He was a medical equipment technician, used to do periodic maintenance there. At first, he seemed cool. He brought presents, took me for ice cream, told funny stories. My mom seemed happier, smiled more. "He's going to be a good father to you, Henry. You'll see," she'd say. 3 months after they started dating, Robert moved into our apartment. Initially, things were peaceful. He helped with the bills, fixed broken things, cooked on days when my mom came home late. I remember the smell of spaghetti filling the apartment on Wednesday nights. It was his specialty. Gradually, small changes began to happen. Robert started controlling the household money. My mom had to ask when she wanted to buy something. My new cars stopped coming. "We need to save," she'd explain. The park outings were replaced by afternoons at home, watching the football games Robert wanted to see. The first real sign that something was wrong came when I was 11. My mom had to do a last-minute night shift on a Friday. Robert was responsible for me. I remember accidentally breaking a glass in the kitchen. He came running, his face red. "You stupid kid," he shouted, grabbing my arm so hard it left purple marks. "Clean this shit up now." While I picked up the shards of glass crying, he stood there, watching. "If you tell your mom, it'll be much worse," he threatened in a calm voice that scared me more than the shouting. When my mom arrived the next morning, Robert was all smiles. He had made pancakes for breakfast. I discreetly showed her the marks on my arm in the bathroom. It must have been an accident, Henry. Robert was just worried about you cutting yourself on the glass. Don't exaggerate. It was the first time I realized she wasn't going to protect me from him. In the months that followed, Robert completely changed when we were alone. Anything became a reason for humiliation. He called me stupid, weak, useless, said I would never be a real man. That's why my father had left. Couldn't stand having a son like me. At 12, I started having problems at school. Couldn't concentrate. My grades dropped. The teacher called my mom in for a talk. Robert insisted on going along. "He just needs discipline," said Robert in the car, coming back from the meeting. "I'll take care of that." Robert's discipline meant being locked in my room without dinner when I got low grades. It meant having to do push-ups until my arms gave out if I answered inappropriately. It meant having my books and toys confiscated for weeks. When I tried to talk to my mom, she always seemed too tired to listen. Robert is trying to make you into a strong man, Henry. One day you'll thank him. At 13, I discovered my mom was pregnant. She was radiant. Robert seemed calmer, gentler. For a brief period, I thought maybe things would improve. My baby sister was born when I was almost 14. They named her Sophia. With the baby's arrival, my mom stayed home for a few months. Robert took on overtime to compensate. When he was absent, I breathed a sigh of relief. My mom and I took care of Sophia together. For a few moments, it seemed like we had gone back to being a family. But when my mom went back to work, Robert began to show another face of abuse. He started coming into the bathroom while I was showering, saying he needed to get something. He would watch me with a strange smile on his lips. He made comments about my developing body that made me sick. One night, I woke up with Robert sitting on the edge of my bed. The room was dark, but I could see his silhouette against the hallway light. I pretended to stay asleep, my heart beating so hard I thought he could hear it. He just sat there watching for almost half an hour. After that, I started pushing my dresser against the door before sleeping. I tried to tell a school counselor what was happening. He called my mom in for a meeting. Robert showed up instead of her. "Henry has a very fertile imagination," he said, smiling at the counselor. "We're concerned about these stories he's been making up. Maybe it's jealousy of his little sister." The counselor suggested therapy. Robert enthusiastically agreed. I was never taken to a therapist. At home, Robert cornered me in my room. "Do you really want to be taken away from your mom and sister? Because that's what will happen if you continue with these stories. They'll send you to a foster home and you'll never see them again." By 15, I was completely isolated. I had no friends at school. I spent as much time as possible away from home, at the library, at the park, anywhere. I started having constant nightmares. I'd wake up screaming in a cold sweat. I developed a nervous tic in my right eye. My mom worked more and more. When she was home, she always seemed distracted, tired, focused only on Sophia. Robert had taken complete control of the house, the finances, everything. He checked her phone, decided what clothes she could wear, who she could talk to. I was completely alone and I was running out of hope. It was around my 16th birthday that things really got worse. Robert started drinking more. Not enough to get drunk, but just to the point where a person becomes unpredictable, aggressive. He was always too calculating to lose control completely. I remember one night in particular. My mom was on shift as usual. Sophia, now 2 years old, was already asleep. I was doing a biology assignment at the kitchen table when Robert got home from work. I could smell the alcohol as soon as he walked in. "What are you writing there, kid? Are you telling our stories to the school again?" I continued writing, trying to ignore him. I had learned that sometimes if I didn't respond, he would lose interest and go away. Not this time. Robert yanked away my notebook, tearing several pages. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." I looked up. "It's just a biology assignment. I need to turn it in tomorrow." He threw the notebook on the floor and smiled in that way that gave me chills. "You know what I find funny? How your mom never believes you. Never." "Can I finish my assignment now?" I asked, keeping my voice as neutral as possible. "Think you're a man already? Think you're in charge here?" He approached, leaning until his face was inches from mine. This house is mine. Your mom is mine. Even you are mine, understand? I decide what you do. That's when he did something he had never done before. He took out a cigarette, lit it, and without warning, put it out on the inside of my forearm. The pain was like nothing I had felt before. I screamed and tried to get away, but he grabbed my arm forcefully. "This is for you to learn who's in charge here," he said calmly, as if commenting on the weather. "Next time you disrespect me, it will be much worse." That night, I cried silently in my room while treating the burn with cold water. The worst wasn't the physical pain, but the realization that he was escalating, that he would go further each time. When my mom returned the next morning, I showed her the burn. For a moment, I saw something in her eyes. Maybe anger, maybe fear. But then she sighed. "What did you do to provoke him, Henry? Robert would never do this without reason." It was at that moment that something broke inside me. My own mother, the person who should protect me above all else, was once again choosing him, choosing not to see. "He burned me with a cigarette, Mom, on purpose. And you're still asking what I did?" She looked away. "I'll talk to him." "What's the point? You never believe me anyway." The next day, Robert came to my room. I thought he was going to hit me because of the conversation my mom had with him. Instead, he brought a box of Band-Aids and a cream for burns. "Your mom asked me to take care of this," he said in an almost gentle tone. That's how he operated, alternating between cruelty and gentleness to keep me off balance. "You know, Henry, I just want what's best for this family. Sometimes you drive me crazy." As he applied the cream, I felt his gaze running over my body in a way that made me sick. I realized then that the burn was just the beginning of something worse. In the weeks that followed, Robert intensified another type of abuse. He started entering my room without knocking, even knowing I could be changing. He made comments about my body, about me becoming a man. He touched me in ways that seemed accidental, but never were. One day I came home from school earlier because a teacher had been absent. The house seemed empty. I went to my room and froze at the door. Robert was there going through my drawers, my personal things. When he saw me, he didn't seem the least bit embarrassed. "What are you doing in my room?" I asked. "Checking if you're hiding anything. Drugs, pornographic magazines, you never know with teenagers." "You don't have that right," I said, feeling a courage I didn't know I had. Robert approached slowly. "I have all the rights in this house." His hand grabbed my neck, not hard enough to choke me, but enough to show that he could. "Don't forget that." That night, I locked my door and pushed the dresser against it. Hours later, I heard the doorknob turn, then heavy knocking. "Open this door now." Robert's voice thundered from the other side. I remained completely still, silent. After a few minutes, he gave up. The next day, when I came back from school, the lock had been removed. That's when I started to understand there was no escape, that it would only get worse until what? Until I was completely destroyed, until he crossed the last line he hadn't crossed yet. The idea of suicide started to seem like a way out. I even wrote a letter explaining everything, but I tore it up. I couldn't leave Sophia alone with him, and a part of me, an angry and wounded part, didn't want to simply give up. I began to observe Robert more carefully. His habits, his routines, the little things that bothered him, his phobia of enclosed spaces, his fear of insects and rats that I discovered by chance when a mouse appeared in the kitchen and he practically jumped onto a chair. I started fantasizing about ways to hurt him. These weren't just passing thoughts. I elaborated detailed plans in my mind, reviewing them, perfecting them. In my school notebooks, between class notes, I drew scenes of revenge. This gave me a strange comfort. Meanwhile, Robert's behavior toward my mom was also getting worse. I heard the arguments at night, the insults, the occasional sound of something breaking. In the morning, she would appear wearing sunglasses inside the house or heavy makeup on hot days. One night, I heard my mom crying in the bathroom. I knocked on the door softly. "Mom, is everything okay?" She opened the door. Her right eye was swollen and starting to turn purple. "I just hit the cabinet, son. Don't worry." It was him, wasn't it? "We need to get out of here, Mom. He's going to end up killing you." She held my face between her hands. For a moment, I saw the mom I had known years ago. "It's not that simple, Henry. We have nowhere to go. I can't support both of you alone. And Robert, he loves us in his own way." "That's not love, Mom. It's control. It's abuse." She wiped away her tears. "Go to sleep, son. Everything will be fine." But I knew it wouldn't be. The breaking point came when I discovered, searching through Robert's phone while he was in the shower, messages and photos he was exchanging with other women, dozens of them. While he terrorized our family, while he controlled every penny my mom earned, while he pretended to be the man of the house, he was cheating on my mom blatantly. I showed the messages to her. I thought it would finally be enough for her to see who Robert really was. "I already know about that," she said to my shock. "We've already discussed it. He promised to stop." "And you believed him? How can you stay with someone like that?" "You're too young to understand, Henry. Adult relationships are complicated. Sometimes we accept things that aren't ideal for the greater good." "What greater good? He hits you, he mistreats me. What kind of example are we setting for Sophia?" That's when my mom said something I'll never forget. "At least he's here. Your father didn't even do that." At that moment, I understood that my mom would never choose us, never protect us. She was trapped in a cycle of abuse and dependence that she couldn't or wouldn't break. And if she wouldn't protect us, I would have to do it. The summer was especially hot that year. I had just turned 16, and with the heat, Robert started walking around the house in just his underwear when my mom wasn't there. He made a point of displaying himself in front of me, as if provoking me, testing boundaries. One afternoon, I heard a violent argument between my mom and Robert. He was accusing her of hiding money from him. She denied it, crying. I heard the sound of a slap, then another. Sophia, now almost 3, started crying in the next room. I went out to calm her, and when I got back to the hallway, I saw my mom hurrying out of the house, her face marked, a small suitcase in her hand. "Mom, where are you going? You can't leave Sophia here." "I need some time, Henry." "Just a few days at your Aunt Martha's to cool off. Take care of your sister. Robert has a night shift today. He'll be back tomorrow morning." "Mom, please." But she was already leaving. At that moment, something snapped inside me. My mom was running away, but leaving her children behind with him. I spent the afternoon taking care of Sophia, trying to distract her, making her laugh. When I finally managed to put her to sleep, I sat on the edge of my bed, trembling with anger. That's when I heard a strange noise coming from the wall. I put my ear against it and realized they were rats. The old building where we lived always had problems with rats in the walls and ceiling, especially in summer. Normally, this sound would scare me, but that night it lit an idea in my mind, a terrible idea. At the back of our building, there was an abandoned area where garbage accumulated. That's where the rats concentrated. Some of the older boys in the neighborhood sometimes captured these rats to use in illegal dogfighting rings. I always found it disgusting, cruel. But that night, I sneaked down to the back of the building with a cardboard box I had reinforced with tape. Using leftover food as bait, I managed to capture 4 large, aggressive rats. They thrashed in the box, trying to escape. I returned to the apartment, my heart beating so hard I thought it would explode. I locked the box in my closet and waited. Robert arrived around midnight, earlier than expected. I heard him open the refrigerator, grab a beer, then the sound of the shower. Our apartment had only one bathroom that was between my room and the main bedroom. When Robert finished his shower, he usually went straight to his and my mom's room, where he'd stay in his underwear or naked while watching TV before sleeping. I waited motionless in the darkness of my room. I heard when the shower turned off, when the bathroom door opened, when the footsteps went down the hall, when the main bedroom door closed. I took the box with the rats. They were more agitated now, probably hungry, frightened. I went to the main bedroom door and put my ear against it. I could hear the low sound of the television. Robert would be lying in bed, as always. I opened the door slowly, just a crack. The room was dark, except for the bluish light from the TV. Robert was lying with his back to the door, completely naked on the bed, looking at the screen. That's when I hesitated for a second. What I was about to do would have no going back. Then I remembered all the humiliations, the cigarette burn on my arm, the nights I woke up with him watching me, my mom's bruised face, Sophia crying, scared by the shouting. With a quick movement, I entered the room, opened the box and turned it over, releasing the rats onto the bed. I immediately left and locked the door from the outside with the key I had stolen from the kitchen keyring. The screams started almost instantly, first of surprise, then of panic, then of pain. The rats, frightened and aggressive, attacked the first thing they saw. Robert, naked and vulnerable. "Help, Henry. Open this door." I leaned against the wall of the corridor, listening. The screams continued, mixed with the sound of rats squealing and things falling in the room. Robert was desperately banging on the door. "They're biting me. For God's sake, help me." Slowly, I slid down to the floor of the corridor, hugging my knees. I didn't feel anything, not satisfaction, not horror, just emptiness. The screams continued for minutes that seemed like hours. Then suddenly, a heavy thud, as if a body had fallen. Then, silence. I don't know how long I stayed there in the hallway. Maybe hours. The sun was already rising when I finally got up and unlocked the door. The room was destroyed, the TV broken on the floor, torn sheets, and Robert was lying near the window, his body covered in bites, some deep, bleeding. The rats had disappeared, probably escaped through some gap. I approached slowly. Robert was breathing with difficulty, semi-conscious. His pupils were dilated, his body was shaking. I picked up the phone and called emergency services. "I need an ambulance. My stepfather was attacked by rats. He's badly hurt." When the paramedics arrived, Robert was already in shock. They rushed him to the hospital. I stayed behind with Sophia, who miraculously slept through the entire incident. I called my mom, told her about the terrible accident, how the rats must have come in through the window that Robert left open to smoke at night, how I only realized when I heard the screams, but couldn't open the door because he must have locked it from the inside. She came back immediately. She found me sitting calmly at the kitchen table, feeding Sophia. At the hospital, we found out that Robert had contracted a serious infection from the bites. His body, already weakened by the alcohol he consumed daily, didn't respond well to antibiotics. 3 days later, he died from multiple organ failure. The police investigated, of course. They questioned how so many rats had entered at once, how the door was locked, how I couldn't help him sooner. I kept my story calm, consistent, but they continued investigating. They found rat hair in the box in my room. They discovered that the key was on the outside, not the inside. A neighbor testified they had seen me with a box at the back of the building that night. My story collapsed. I confessed everything. I tried to explain the years of abuse. I showed the scar from the cigarette burn. I told them about Robert's inappropriate behavior, about the violence against my mom, but without concrete evidence, without previous reports, it was my word against the silence of a dead man. I was tried as a minor and sentenced to 3 years in juvenile detention for manslaughter. My mom didn't look me in the eyes during the entire trial, but at the last hearing, as they took me away in handcuffs, she whispered something that still echoes in my mind. "I knew. I always knew everything and never helped you." The 3 years I spent in juvie were strange. I expected it to be hell, but I discovered that for someone who lived like I did, in constant fear, that rigid routine had something comforting about it. I knew exactly what to expect each day. There were no surprises, no threats hiding in the shadows. I had weekly sessions with a psychologist, Dr. Mary. At first, I refused to talk. I thought she was just another adult who wouldn't believe me, but she was different, patient, never pushed me. "What you did was wrong, Henry," she told me in a session, months after I started opening up. "But I understand why you did it." It was the first time someone acknowledged what I had been through without completely absolving me for what I did. It was a fine line, difficult to navigate. I was a victim, yes, but I had also made a terrible choice. During those years, my mom visited me only 3 times. Tense conversations, full of silences. She had moved with Sophia to another town to live near my Aunt Martha. "How's Sophia?" I always asked. "Well, she asks about you, sometimes." "Does she remember Robert?" "No, she was too young." On the last visit, I finally asked what I had wanted to know from the beginning. Why did you never protect me? She looked out the window for a long time. Because I couldn't even protect myself. Robert broke me little by little, Henry. First it was my confidence, then my self-esteem, then my will. By the time I realized what he was doing to you, I no longer had the strength to fight. A confession that brought neither relief nor forgiveness. Just a sad confirmation of what I already suspected. During those years in detention, I started to wonder about my own biological father. Who was he? Why had he left? Would he know what happened to me? Your grandmother has his contact information, my mom said when I asked. When you get out, maybe it would be good to look for him. In sessions with Dr. Mary, I began to understand how my father's abandonment had created a void that Robert exploited. How my mom, also marked by abuse in her own childhood, was repeating a familiar pattern. It wasn't an excuse, but it helped to understand. The cycle of abuse is like a family curse, Dr. Mary explained, passed from generation to generation until someone has the strength to break it. And I broke that cycle by killing someone, I responded bitterly. You broke the cycle in destructive ways. Now you have the chance to rebuild in a healthy way. When I finally left the center, 3 weeks ago, my Aunt Martha met me at the gate. My mom didn't come. We went to a nearby cafe. She can't face you, Henry, my aunt said. I think she never will be able to. And Sophia is fine. She's 5 years old now. She's a happy, healthy child. Claire is a different mother with her. That hurt more than I expected. My mom had learned to protect her daughter. She just hadn't learned in time to protect me. My aunt took me to a small apartment that she had helped rent for me. A simple place, but clean, a fresh start. I have a job waiting for you at George's auto shop if you want it. He's a family friend, knows about your situation. And so my new life began. I work at the shop during the day, attend GED classes at night. On weekends, I come to this park. I sit on this same bench and observe the families passing by. Parents and children holding hands, mothers pushing strollers. Normal life. Something I never had and don't know if I ever will. Yesterday, I received a letter from my biological father. My grandmother contacted him, told him what happened. He wants to meet me. Says he regrets leaving, that he was too young and immature at the time. I don't know if I want this meeting. I don't know if I can forgive another adult who failed me. Dr. Mary, who I still see once a week, says forgiveness isn't about forgetting or excusing. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of the past. Maybe one day I'll achieve that. As for the rats, sometimes I still hear them in my nightmares, their squealing, their claws scratching, Robert's body twisting. I wake up in a cold sweat, heart racing, guilt and relief fighting inside me. Was what I did justice? Was it just revenge or was it survival? I don't have an answer. I just know that on that night the only way out I saw was to transform fear into anger, anger into action. Robert is dead. I am alive, marked, broken in some places, but alive. And maybe that's enough for now. Maybe one day I'll be able to rebuild something from the ruins that Robert and my mom left behind. If you've made it this far and really understood what I went through, I need you to like this video right now. Subscribe to the Traumatic Accounts channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next stories, and comment what time it is where you are while watching this. It's not just a number, it's proof that at this exact moment, somewhere in the world, someone really heard me. And perhaps, just perhaps, my story can help other people recognize the signs before it's too late, before they need to do something they can never take back. Today, I'm trying to build something new from the ashes, one step at a time, one breath at a time. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I survived the worst. And that, in the end, is a silent victory that no one can take away from me.